SAP Adobe Forms Interview Questions and Answers. What are SAP Adobe Forms? SAP Adobe Forms, also known as Interactive Forms by Adobe, are tools used for creating forms within SAP that can be printed or filled out interactively using Adobe LiveCycle Designer. What is the difference between Smart Forms, SAP Script, and Adobe Forms? 1. SAP Script, oldest form tool, basic layout. 2. Smart Forms, easier than SAP Script, way-based. 3. Adobe Forms, most advanced, supports dynamic layouts and interactive features. What are the components of Adobe Forms architecture in SAP? 1. Layout, designed in Adobe LiveCycle Designer. 2. Context, contains interface elements. 3. Interface, defines input, output parameters. 4. Form, connects interface, layout, and context. What is Adobe LiveCycle Designer? It is a graphical design tool used to create and design the layout for Adobe Forms in SAP. What are the types of Adobe Forms? 1. Print forms. 2. Interactive forms, used for user input. What is SFP transaction code? SFP is used to create and manage Adobe Forms in SAP. How do you pass data to Adobe Forms from a BAP? By calling function module fp_job_open, followed by fp_function_module_name and then executing the generated FM for the form, finally closing with fp_job_close. How do you debug an Adobe form? Enable debugging in SFP transaction by checking debugging in the form's context. Use breakpoints in the interface code or generated FM. How can you display a table dynamically in Adobe Forms? Use subforms set to float, layout and bind the repeating data node with a repeat setting in the subform. What is the use of the context in Adobe Forms? It maps interface data to form fields. It supports scripting, conditions, and dynamic field behavior. What are subforms in Adobe Forms? 1. Float, expands, contracts based on data. 2. Position, fixed layout. How do you add scripting in Adobe Forms? Use JavaScript or Form Calc in the script editor of Adobe LiveCycle for client-side logic like validations or calculations. What are master pages in Adobe Forms? Master pages define page layout, headers, footers, and static content that repeats across pages. What are interactive Adobe Forms? Forms that allow users to input or modify data directly within PDF before submission or processing. What is the difference between interactive and print Adobe Forms? 1. Print forms, static output, no user interaction. 2. Interactive forms, users can input data, select options, etc. How do you implement conditional logic in Adobe Forms? Use scripting or dynamic form logic in the context to show, hide fields, change values based on conditions. What is Form Calc? A simple scripting language used in Adobe Forms for calculations and form logic. Easier than JavaScript but less powerful. How do you handle page breaks in Adobe Forms? Use allow page breaks within content on flowed subforms to let content spill over to the next page. Can you use barcodes in Adobe Forms? Yes, by using barcode fields and setting the appropriate barcode type and binding data. How do you secure Adobe Interactive Forms? 1. Digital signatures. 2. Encryption. 3. User authentication via SAP. 4. Disable editing of certain fields.